Hello, and welcome to 2-Minute Talk Tips. I'm Bill Monroe. This week's tip: make friends with silence. Everything you do on stage communicates something to your audience. The way you walk, the way you gesture, the way you dress, the way you talk, and the way you don't talk. Silence is a powerful tool for the speaker. It lets you emphasize a point by being quiet before and after. It gives your audience a chance to soak in what you just said. And when you give your audience a lot of information over the course of several minutes, a few moments of silence gives them a chance to catch up with where you are in your brain. You can also use silence when you want your audience to write something down or make sure they capture something in their notes. When you ask someone a question and you want them to expand on their answer, simply stay silent while they talk. And when they finish talking, if you stay silent for a few moments longer, they'll probably start speaking up again. And of course, when something goes wrong, like it does, maybe you lose your place in your speech, maybe you knock over a computer, or you have to fix something, embrace the silence. Don't ramble. Don't babble. Just embrace that silence so you can get back on track. The point is that silence is a great tool for speakers to use deliberately. Don't fear it. Embrace it. Stick around, and after the break, we'll talk about the folks who influence your success. Welcome back. When speaking, you're never alone. The public is kind of the most important part of public speaking. You are part of a team working with other teams. So let's talk about 10 members of the assorted teams that you may find yourself working with as you both prepare to and begin to speak. They are, first, your boss. Second, your SME. Third, your colleagues that are going to review stuff for you. 4, your customers. 5, your on-site contact. 6, your AV team. 7, your event host. 8, your previous speaker. 9, your following speaker. And 10, your audience. Now, not every presentation will involve all of those groups. For example, if you're presenting in front of a group of 15 people in a conference room, you're probably not going to have an AV team. Other times, you may have different groups, or different members of those groups may overlap. Over the next few minutes, I'll share some thoughts to keep in mind as you work with each of these individuals or groups. First of all, let's start with your boss. Most of us have a boss. When we are out presenting on behalf of our organization, our boss is our primary stakeholder. Because, of course, that person controls our addiction to food, shelter, and clothing. And that also means that if your boss gives you guidance that conflicts with the way you think things should be done, or conflicts with my recommendations here, listen to your boss. I mean, sure, you may be able to push back depending on your relationship with them, but ultimately your boss has the most immediate impact on your job and on your career. When someone tells you after a session that you did a great job and asks if there's anything they can do to thank you, first, thank them for the compliment, and then suggest they tell your boss. If you get a compliment via email, forward it to your boss, and also add it to your collection of stuff for your annual performance review. Your boss wants to do their job well. And when you do well, that reflects well on them. It's one more way you can enhance your career. Second, let's talk about your SME. A SME, or an SME, is a subject matter expert. They have specific technical, product, business, process, or other types of knowledge that you may be speaking about. Often you may be the SME. Other times, you may need to learn from the SME before you even begin preparing your content, or they may simply need to sign off on your content before you present it to your audience. The thing is, when you're talking about that content, your SME may actually be more personally committed to that particular subject matter than you are. They may have gotten into that field because they are passionate about that subject and they know more about it than anyone else. That's one reason why they can be such a valuable resource for you. But at the same time, you owe it to your SME to get the content right. Look, you may need to tweak their materials to build better, more effective slides, but you must accurately present the information you get from the SME. And if you do a good job with that and a good job with their content, that SME is going to ask you to present on their subject area more often. And if you don't do a good job with it, and if you don't get the information right that you learned from them, you may not be able to speak about that content or that topic in the future. The third person or team that can influence you are the colleagues who review your stuff. Most people can't review their own stuff. One of the reasons I like doing a podcast is that there are no typos in my speech. We often don't see errors on our slides or in our handouts because we see what is supposed to be on the page rather than what is actually on the page. So ask a colleague or a coworker to review your slides and handouts and do the same for them. It's a great way to catch errors before they get too far, and it also demonstrates organizational teamwork to folks who are monitoring that. The fourth group to be concerned about is your customer. Now, sometimes your audience is your customer, but not always. You may be presenting on behalf of your customer to another group, or you may be presenting to your organization's executives to update them on your customer or to pitch an opportunity that an external customer brought forward. Understand the relationship between your customers and your organization to bring the most value to each of them. Now let's get a little more concrete. Let's talk about your on-site contact. If you're presenting at a customer's location or a conference or at a hotel, know who your on-site contact is and how to reach them. A few years ago, I was doing a series of retail trainings for a Midwest electronics retailer, and I had arranged all of these training events with department managers. These training sessions would take place before the store opened, so generally the front doors would all be locked, and there might or might not be somebody in the vestibule area. Also, the people that I scheduled the trainings with and scheduled these sessions with weren't always going to be there for the day of the event. So I needed to make sure I knew who the specific on-site contact was each store each morning. And I had to get their cell phone numbers in addition. Because at the most basic level, once I show up at the store an hour and a half or 2 hours before official opening time, and the door is locked because they don't want customers wandering in before it's open, I need to be able to knock on that door and get somebody to open it for me and then tell them who I'm there to see. And of course, if there's nobody up front to hear me knocking on that door, then I need to be able to call someone to come to the door and let me in. And I couldn't very well call the store's number because the phones in the store themselves are turned off until the store actually opens. So having that on-site contact name and cell phone number became very important for me to be able to do those trainings and be able to manage that process. In addition to just getting into the store, I also needed to have that on-site contact person's phone number and name so that if something went terribly wrong and I was running late, or if for whatever reason I had to cancel, which is just about the worst thing you can do there, I need to be able to reach out to them to let them know. And that's just a couple of reasons why it's so important to have that on-site contact name and number. See, the contact is also the one who can help you get what you need done at the event. This is the person that you're most likely going to work with or work through to get any operational details taken care of, especially once you reach day of the event. Never underestimate the importance of a good ops person. 6. The AV team. Now, at larger events, there may be an AV team or an audio-video team. They're going to be responsible for the projector or the big screens. They'll be responsible for hooking a computer up there so you can show your slides. They may want you putting your slides on their machine. And if you need to present from your own box, they are the ones who are going to need to run the cable up there. They're going to mic you. They are going to light you. They may be recording you for audio or for video. So the AV team is going to be a very important group to work with. Be nice to them. They're experts at what they do. And if you have specific AV or lighting needs or requests, they're the ones who are going to make it happen or not make it happen. So make sure you ask nicely. They can make you look very good or, well, let's just go on to the next group. And that's going to be number 7, your host. The host or MC of the event will bring out the speakers at larger or at multi-speaker events. The host may read your bio or introduction as they bring you out, and hopefully they've asked you for your input on this before the whole thing began. The host is also the common thread that is going to run throughout the event, and the audience will have a relationship with that host before they ever see you. The host will set the tone for each presentation. So if at all possible, make sure you coordinate with the host. Number 8 is the previous speaker. In a multi-speaker event, the reception you get will, in part, depend on the speaker who went just before you. Did they do a great job and get the audience all pumped and excited for what comes next? Or did they disappoint and bore the audience and put them to sleep? Or maybe did they just say something offensive or go off the deep end on politics and leave you with a hostile crowd? You need to know what happened in the session before yours so you can adjust accordingly. Do you need to modify your approach based on what the other speaker left you? Is there content in the previous speaker's presentation that you can build on, or themes that you can tie together? Because when speakers can build on one another, the audience can have an even more transformative experience as the theme and the content runs throughout the whole event and helps keep everything connected in their minds. And at the other end of that session is number 9, the speaker that follows you. When you're done, your audience may not have time to digest what you just said before the host comes out again and brings out the next speaker. So think about things that you can do to really leave that big impression with your audience's mind. Is there a way you can partner with the next speaker? Now, that doesn't always make sense, but if there is an appropriate way to tease some of their stuff while they reference yours, then do it. And of course, if that speaker after you isn't as effective, well, there are some things that are just out of your control. If a weak speaker does a memorably bad job, it may mean that the audience remembers less of your performance. If there are multiple speakers after you, it's even more important to make sure that you delivered a clear, simple, easy to remember message so it doesn't get lost in all of the other stuff that they're going to hear after you. And number 10 is the most important team member of all, and that is your audience. Because everything else that we do, from authoring to reviewing to rehearsing to presenting, is ultimately all about the audience. Do you have the right call to action for your audience? Can you land your message with them? Do you know who they are? See, if the audience thinks you're successful and complies with your call to action, nearly everyone else on this list will be thrilled with your performance and with the results. So public speaking, it's not just about us. It's about our stakeholders, our colleagues, our ops people, the other speakers, and above all, our audience. So let us know your thoughts on the teams that surround our presentations. Go ahead and leave a comment over at 2minutetalktips.com on episode 32. Did you enjoy this and other episodes of 2 Minute Talk Tips? Go ahead and leave us a rating or a review in the iTunes store. And be sure to share this episode with a colleague, friend, or relative. I'm Bill Monroe, and you can reach me via email at bill@2minutetalktips.com or through Twitter, where I am at currentlybill. Have a great week, and don't get best. Get better.